Hello, my name is Rob Garner. I'm a software development instructor, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to make a list view. So from the last workflow, we have a mock data service. It creates a list of badges, and it has a get all method at this point. So we're going to make a new page here in our server project. And I'm just going to call it badges page, plural. Add my at page directive. And I'm going to set the render mode as interactive server. And just to make sure I've got all that right, I'm going to run it. And we have our application running, and I'm going to see if it goes to the badges pages. And it does. I probably want to put a link in here, so let's do that next. That's going to be in our layout, and we're going to go to our nav menu. And I think I'll just add it here at the end. I'll copy this one and paste it. I'll probably want to fix this this icon at some point, but it's going to go to badges. And it goes to that page. Okay, so now that I know that I can navigate to it and I have my page, I'm going to um, want a list of badge. Make it private. Or actually, usually, let's make it protected. It wants to mock it up in here. I don't want it to. Just want to create an empty one. And it doesn't know what badge is, so I have to add a reference to models. Since I'm going to be doing this a lot, I'm going to actually remove it from my page here and place it in imports. This way, my my other pages will just have access to that. So that's a nice thing about imports.region. Now, I think I don't want this to be, and we'll see why later. I don't want to actually instantiate this right away. I want this just to be default to null, and I'm going to make it nullable. Now, how am I going to get those badges in here? I need to get those badges. I have that mock that I created, and so this badges mock creates a whole bunch of new badges and gives me a method to get access to it, and it mocks up what the ultimate real data service will be. So to make this work in program.cs, we have added it under as a service here. We made it a singleton, just before we build the app. And so because it's part of our services, I can bring that in by injecting that service. So this is the interface. This is the concrete implementation in program.cs. We inject the concrete service using this interface. So if we do it that way, for example, you could do this and just use the concrete one. But if we do it with the interface, then when we inject it, we need to use that interface. Now it doesn't recognize it. And so let's see what the potential fixes are. It says we need to add this using directive. And again, I think I'm going to be using those interfaces a lot of places. So I'm going to remove it from there and put it in my inputs. So now it knows what it is, and I need to give it a name. And so I usually like to keep this something short. I'm just going to call it data service. And then in here, we're going to override the on initialized async method. And then from our data service, we will be able to get all async. And that's going to call our mocks get all async method, which is going to return us this mock-up of all these badges. Now that we have our badges populated, we're going to go here and we could do something like create an unordered list. And so we're going to go for each badge and badges. Maybe we'll make a list item. And just for now, just to test it out, we're going to say badge dot or at badge dot, and let's put the title. And let's run that and see what happens. So to review first, we have a list of badges. When we initialize, we have our data service. We get all of them. That fills it up. We have this list, this unordered list, and we're going to loop through all the badges and display them as list items. Notice there's this null reference exception. That's going to become important in a second. Let's see what happens. And actually, this time it worked. What would happen if it took longer? So I'm going to put in a time delay, and we can do that with the task class. We'll delay for a time span of 10 seconds. The delay takes a time span. And let's run that. It doesn't show up. In fact, we now get a null reference exception. So it turns out that the uninitialized, if it gets to it right away, it'll actually show everything will work fine. But if there's a delay, and we are doing a database operation here eventually, there could be a delay. You could get a null reference exception. Now, a couple ways you could handle that is we could initialize this and new something up, and it would show nothing, and then it would show up. And the way we typically do this is we use an if badges equals null check here. And then we will run this in the else. So we're going to do a if check. And in here, we'll just put in some kind of loading indicator. Sometimes this could be a little spinny GIF, but we're just going to say anything like that. So let's look at this when we run it. If I go to badges now, first of all, it takes 10 seconds for it to load up. So we're waiting for that to happen. We see it show up and notice that it blinked and then it went away. And then we have it loading and then it shows up again. So what's going on here? Well, there's actually multiple renders when we render a page. And this article here, pre-render ASP.NET Core Components, talks about it. And essentially, we have this pre-rendering, this static rendering that happens first, and then your interactive rendering of the page happens next. And that's because the server will offer up just a static page, almost like a standard web page where it's coming in as a file. That comes into the client first, and then meanwhile it's spinning up all this um, an interactive instance of the same page. And when that's up and running, then it sends it to the page. Because I put this timer here, what ends up happening is we can actually see it happen. Now, if I take this timer out and we run it, and it looks like it just shows up, but that is happening and can potentially happen. And we need to address that at some point. We're not going to address it here in this demo, but I will have a section on how to address the issue with pre-rendering states. So for now, this will look okay, but it is not a professional product unless we deal with that pre-rendering issue. So now here we have our page, and we're able to get our data service. We can see the list of pages. So we effectively have a list view. And that's enough for this demo, realizing that we have a little thing that we'll need to fix later on. Thank you very much.